Hey there, Sosakai here, and welcome to the chapter review of Astro Royale, a relatively new manga series by Ken Wakui, the same manga artist behind Tokyo Revengers and Shinjuku Swan. I myself am more familiar with Tokyo Revengers. I enjoyed the story as well as how the characters were developed, leaving me in anticipation of his next work, which leads me to Astro Royale, which will mainly be dealing with the secession of a Yakuza family as well as a new ability that changes the world. But that's enough of a brief summary. Let's get into the review. At the beginning of the chapter, we are shown a cluster of meteorites making their way towards Earth, and they seem to have a prismatic color to them. At the same time, there is a news broadcast giving details on when the meteorites would be visible for viewing as they pass over, as well as stating that if the viewers were to hold on to an important item when viewing the meteorites passing, that if they were to make a wish, the wish would come true. Afterwards, we are introduced to the main character Hibaru Yosurugi, who happens to be the only legitimate son of the Yosuguri family boss. And right now, he is out collecting protection money from one of the local businesses. The old shopkeep then tells Hibaru that he will be just a minute when collecting his protection money. And when coming back out, he gives Hibaru a piece of candy. Hibaru then thanks the old shopkeep and pats him on the side, almost knocking him down, and then proceeds to still pay him for the candy and wishing him a good day. Giving a smile and a wave, he makes his way to his acquaintance who is waiting off on the side. Confused, he says that they were there to collect protection money and not just a shop. At which point, we are introduced to the 12th adopted son, Tarasu Yasurugi, who questions why Hibaru looks like a hoodlum. Hibaru then explains that he made the awesome outfit himself, and that is his way of reminding the family of how their dad used to be. Upon hearing Hibaru's explanation, Tarasu is rightfully worried that Hibaru is oblivious to the kind of position that he is in. As they make their way to their father's funeral, we are introduced to the 11th adopted brother, Ko Yasurugi, who happens to be waiting outside with some lackeys of his. As Hibaru and Tarasu arrive onto the scene, Ko then grabs Hibaru's attention and starts to try to antagonize him by saying that if he's still pretending to be a chivalrous gangster. But Hibaru tries his best to ignore his statements, but eventually Ko is able to antagonize him, saying that he's just writing off his father's fame. Hibaru then grabs Ko's collar and pulls him in, telling him to repeat himself. But Tarasu stops Hibaru, saying not to listen to this nobody. Shocked to hear such a statement, Ko tries to ask what he means, and Tarasu explains that anyone who is outside laughing on the day of their dad's funeral is nothing but a pathetic nobody. Irritated, Ko then decides to leave it as is and head into the funeral. Hibaru and Tarasu then make their way inside as well, where we can see many people are in attendance to pay their respect to Hibaru's father, Kongo Yosurugi. As the service goes on, we are shown a few people commenting on Hibaru's dress attire, as well as others that are discussing who will be the successor to take Kongo's place to lead. The people who are likely to be chosen are Hibaru, who is the legitimate son of Kongo, and Shio Yosurugi, who is the first adopted son and the underboss to Kongo, as well as having the largest faction backing him up, the Hawk faction. At the same time, the chief mourner, Hibaru, steps up in front of everyone and gives a speech on behalf of the family. He thanks everyone for attending the memorial service for his father and to express his gratitude for all that they'd done for his father while he was alive. While Hibaru is giving the speech, we are then again shown the rest of the family as they are discussing amongst themselves who will likely lead the family, with Shio being the only one to step forward as the father's successor upon his passing. But they cannot forget that Hibaru is the only legitimate son of Kongo, and that he was also there on his deathbed to hear his final words naming his successor. So depending on the father's will and who volunteered, there will have to be a succession war and factions will have to choose a side. With the family awaiting in anticipation, Hibaru reaches the point of his speech where he's just about to announce the successor, at which point he announces that on his father's deathbed, Kongo Yosurugi had named Tarasu Yosurugi as his successor to lead the Yosurugi family, leaving Tarasu and the family in complete disbelief, with some of the family members saying that this will not end well. Some of the underlings are in outrage, stating that Shio is the only true boss to lead the Yosurugi family and that they do not accept this verdict of Tarasu leading. In the middle of the chaos, Hibaru makes his way to Tarasu asking if he still has his pendant. Tarasu then pulls out his shield-shaped pendant, while Hibaru pulls out his bullet-shaped pendant, with Hibaru stating that they are the ones who are going to shape the future, with two becoming one. We are then taken into a flashback with younger Hibaru with his father at a festival, knocking out a goon who is harassing the family. The family thanks Kongo for helping them out, as he and Hibaru go about their business enjoying the festival. Ginjin Yabana, Kongo's advisor, instructs her men to investigate and recruit the goons willing to join, leaving the rest. Hibaru exclaims that his dad is strong and has huge biceps. Kongo then goes to explain that his bicep has a huge bullet primer wedged inside, as his forearm is packed with gunpowder so that he can throw explosive punches. And if Hibaru wants to be like him, he'll need to build up some muscle. But Kongo states that the most important thing is to have a chivalrous spirit, to help the weak and to stand against the strong. Having left a lasting impression on Hibaru, they go about and enjoy their time at the festival, at which point Hibaru narrates and explains that his father had fought for those in need, and in return, they respected and loved him. And as time went on, he found a soft spot for orphans and adopted them into their family. And it didn't matter if they were street punks all the way to children of rivals that he has defeated. Regardless, he had taken them in. As the kids got older, they started to pitch into Kongo's work, and slowly but surely became the foundation of the gang and formed a bond stronger than blood known as the Diamond Bond. At which point, they decided to take advantage of their father's connections, and during the Heisei era is when they really stepped into the public light, where they started to take charge of businesses in Osaka, as well as expanding their expertise into areas such as energy development. At which point, at this time, they started to grow into a straight and narrow organization while retaining their gang-affiliated roots. At which point, we're taken to the Reiwa era, and we see Hibaru as well as Tarasu running at top speed heading towards the location, at which point we know that it's the hospital. As Hibaru and Tarasu arrive, they ask about their father's condition, as one of the family members say that they are late and he doesn't have much time. They also inform both of them that their father Kongo would like to see them and speak to them about one last thing, at which point Hibaru and Tarasu enter the room where they can see their father lying, and as they make their entrance, their father out the gate lets them know he's dying and not gonna make it. We can tell that he's probably dying from old age, at which point he tells Hibaru that he wants him to be the next boss of the Yosurugi family, informing him that his siblings are all too grown up and consumed by the gang's interests. He also tells Tarasu that he's smart and kind, and that he would want him to protect the family and serve as Hibaru's underboss, at which point he agrees. At which point, he tells his sons to extend out their hands, presenting two heirlooms passed down from generations, a bullet pendant and a shield pendant, both made from the strongest bullet in the world. And upon receiving these gifts, he tells them to swear on these heirlooms that they would support each other and no matter what. As Hibaru and Tarasu swear upon this, Kongo is able to impart his final words onto his sons, informing them that he is trusting the future of the gang in their hands, and is able to die with a smile on his face, leaving his sons teary-eyed and heartbroken. At which point, we are taken to the present, where it's a little after the funeral, and Hibaru and Tarasu are in the bathhouse bathing. Tarasu then asks Hibaru, why did he lie about who did their father choose to be the successor? Hibaru then explains that he wants to be a Yakuza with convictions. He wants to be able to help the weak and stand up against the strong. And that's what it means to him to have a chivalrous spirit. And that's why he wants to become a Yakuza. But Tarasu interrupts him and says he needs to stop saying such nonsense. They are no longer that and have gone legit. But Hibaru then reiterates and says that he's not trying to do anything illegal. He just doesn't like how they had thrown away their beliefs as soon as they had gone legit. Now they are just a cold organization. He knows that he is old-fashioned, but he will not change his beliefs for anyone. And so he knows that if he becomes the boss, that the gang will split up. At which point, Hibaru tells Tarasu that he knows he has a good head on his shoulders, and that he can guide the gang in a good direction, and that their father would approve. But before they can continue the conversation, a random pedestrian comes crashing in and lets them know, hey, the meteors are here. At which point, Hibaru and Tarasu make a mad dash outside, making it in time to catch the meteorites passing over. Hibaru then thinks to himself that everyone has been saying if you hold an important item with you and make a wish, that it'll come true. Hibaru wonders if everyone else is looking at the same meteorites that he is and making a wish as well. We get a glimpse of other people as well making their wishes, but as we come back to Hibaru, he only states he has only one wish to make, stating that he wants to be able to protect Tarasu and support the family, wishing that he would like to be the strongest Yakuza ever. Having finishing his wish, Hibaru then notices a bystander saying that the meteorite is a little too close. Hibaru looks up and notices as well, but it's too late, as the meteorite crashes a couple blocks down, sending a shockwave and destroying buildings as it makes its way towards Hibaru, sending a building his way as well. But right before the building lands on him, Tarasu pushes him out the way, taking Hibaru's place and getting crushed by the building. But also, as Hibaru lands off to the side, he is knocked out. Afterwards, he is taken to a separate dimension where he sees a star in the distance and surrounded by space. The star basically tells him he's gonna grant him his wish and give him the power of Astro. And thus, he awakens back into reality in a panic state, huffing and puffing, remembering that Tarasu had pushed him out the way, taking his place. With a shocked expression on his face, he then thinks back to when they're right back home from the hospital. At which point, they have a conversation where Hibaru tells Tarasu that he doesn't feel he's cut out to be the boss. Tarasu reassures Hibaru, even if he may not feel he is capable of taking the boss position, it's his dream to follow in his father's footsteps, and that even if their other siblings turn against him, that he will stay by his side to support him, and that stating what their father had told them before, two become one, and that they were going to shape the future together. We cut back to Hibaru screaming at the top of his lungs for Tarasu, pushing against the building, saying that this can't be real and refusing to believe that it's real. Hibaru then starts to punch the building several times until he destroys his knuckles, causing them to bleed. At which point, he catches sight of his bullet pendant, which then he thinks back to his father. He asks for his father's help while gripping the bullet pendant covered in blood. At which point, Hibaru feels his father's presence behind him. His father tells him that he's got some real heart and that he should turn that into a bullet and shoot right through this building, as well as this era. As Hibaru asks his father how, his father quickly remarks and tells him, imagine you have the strongest fist in the world. At that point, Hibaru thinks back to when his father said when he was younger. Using the details his father had given him, explaining why he was so strong, Hibaru is then able to transform his arm into an astral of some sorts that gives him strength. It takes up his right arm, and when thinking to the last detail of how it explodes, his father asks him, what is your fist? At which point, Hibaru yells at the top of his lungs while his father encourages him, my fist is a bullet, as he hits the building, causing a shockwave, propelling the building away. At which point, that surprises Hibaru, but that is quickly sidetracked when we see that Tarasu is alive. It turns out that the street had caved in, causing a ditch for him to hide underneath the building. Confused and panicking himself, Tarasu questions what happened to the building, but is quickly distracted by Hibaru's transformed arm, which we are able to see clearly that his arm is black, that is textured to look almost like armor, that is pulsating with some energy, kind of surrounding and crackling around him. Confused, Tarasu questions if Hibaru was the one who hit the building away. At which point, Hibaru tries to explain what happened but can't put it into words, but quickly changes the subject and jumps on Tarasu, saying that he's glad that he's alive, but he questions how. Tarasu then explains that because of the sinkhole, he wasn't crushed and kept safe. They then move their attention to the meteor crash. They decide to get to a better vantage point so they can see the destruction that was caused by the crash. And as they get to the top of a destroyed building, they then see the aftermath and are left speechless, as they see that their whole city is left in ruin with a dark, ominous cloud hanging over. Soon after, from exhaustion, it seems that Hibaru then passes out on top of the collapsed building. Then the narrator explains that after today, that the world has drastically changed and that this was the end of peace as we knew it, while showing several panels of people around the city getting their own astral power in their unique way, as well as some of Hibaru and Tarasu's siblings getting their own special astros, and ending it off with Hibaru being carried by Tarasu to safety. Well, that was chapter 1 of Astro Royale. I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Me, myself, I'm enjoying this series so far, similar to Tokyo Revengers, and I can't wait to see what this series has to offer in the future. But for now, I hope you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.